Right, good day learners. In this lesson we're going to focus on the accounting equation. Now the accounting equation is the basis of all our accounting. Now the subject that you're doing is actually accounting. But before you can do accounting, you have to do bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is the language of accounting. Just like you might study IT, but it would be pointless if you don't understand the language or you know how to get around Word or Office, whichever program you're actually working on. You need to know the language. Now the language of accounting is bookkeeping. Now bookkeeping is exactly what it says. You are keeping books. In other words, it's a record system. It's how we keep our records. Once we've recorded all these entries, they've got to be used for some format. Otherwise there was no point in doing it. And that's when we then shift to the accounting side, in which we will use those records to work out whether we've made profit or losses in our business, what our worth is, use it for making decisions going further into the business, and so on. The basis of all this hinges on the accounting equation. So we need to spend a bit of time making sure we understand this. Right, good day learners. This lesson we're going to focus on the accounting equation and what the accounting equation actually means. Now, in the process of doing accounting, the first step is, as we just said just now, is keeping the records. So, I'm now just using a chart over here. Don't worry about the different colors at this stage. And I'm just going to keep records. Slightly different from probably what you would do in class at the moment. So we're starting our business and the owner is going to put capital into the business. So the owner comes in and he gives 10,000 rands worth of capital. Now I'm using these beans here to symbolize that each bean represents 1,000 rand. So we need to keep a record that there is capital of 10,000. They need to know how much belongs to the owner, how much he's put in. Now that 10,000 rand, where does it go to? And assuming that he's given money, the first thing is it's going to go into the bank. And so I will bring in 10,000 beans, 3, 6, 9, 10 beans, and I have now got a record that in the bank is 10,000 rand. Alright, so just remember these beans are representing. I know there's 20 beans on the thing here. What we're saying is we're keeping a record. We're writing down that there was 10,000 capital, and what happened to that, it went into the bank. Now the owner needs to buy equipment to get going. So he goes and he buys this equipment for 6,000. So the money has to come out of the bank because he's going to pay for it. And that is now shifting into having equipment worth 6,000. So if we now take a look at this, we can see that the owner put in 10,000 rand. And of that, 4,000 is still in the bank and 6,000 has been invested in equipment. Now the owner wants to buy a vehicle, but he doesn't have enough cash. So he decides to go and take a loan. So he goes and negotiates a loan with the bank, and with a loan you have to pay it back, but the bank actually gives you the cash. So you get a loan for 5,000, and what happens to that money? That money will now go into the bank. So you've now taken a note that you owe 5,000 back to the bank, and at this stage now you've got a total of 9,000 in your bank. So now you can buy your vehicle. Now that vehicle is going to cost you 7,000. That must come out of the bank and it must go into the vehicle. Remember, you've now spent that money, so you've only got 2,000 left in the bank. So now if we take a look, we can see that while the owner put in 10,000, you've actually been given another 5,000 Rand capital to run this business. So this 15,000 is equal to 2,000 in the bank, 6,000 in equipment, and 7,000 in vehicles. Now, if you've got your own business, remember you won't be earning a salary like people that are employed at different companies. They will be depending on the profits that this business eventually makes. But the owner is allowed to start drawing that profit out in advance. And so he can draw cash out of this business. But when he draws cash out, we refer to that as his drawings. Any money that the owner takes for his own use, we keep it separate as a drawings. So if the owner is going to take 1,000 Rand now out of the bank, we're going to have less money in the bank, and we record that he has taken that as drawings. So all I've been doing is moving beans around to show how some accounts are increasing and decreasing, but at the end of the day, we're keeping records. Right, so now let's take this one step further. Let's count up these beans and use figures instead. So in your bank, you've got 1,000. So I'm counting those figures, and I'm going to bring in an extra sheet over here and say, right, in my bank, there was 1,000. My equipment, there was 6,000 Rands worth of equipment. Vehicles, there was 7,000. And drawings is 1,000. If I add that up, 15,000. We had a loan of 5,000, and we've got capital of 10,000, and that also adds up to 15,000. Now that's no great miracle. What we're saying is that we are accounting for what we're doing with the money. So you have had a total of 15,000 Rand. The owner put 10,000 in, and another 5,000 was borrowed. So the business has got a total of 15,000 Rand. Now you've got to account for what you've done with that. Where is that 15,000? And if you go back to your records, you can say, right, that 15,000 is, some of it's in the bank. You've got your own equipment, your own vehicle, and the owner took 1,000 Rand of it. So you can account for the whole 15,000. Now just stop and ask yourself, every time I made an entry, remember I'm keeping records, how many times did I record that? What do I mean? When the owner put the 10,000 Rand capital in, I recorded it under capital because I said I needed to know how much the owner put in. But I also went back to my bank at the beginning and put 10,000 in because at that point in time, I had 10,000. Now that is a very important concept that we use. Everything in accountancy has double entries. There are 2 entries. Right. So now, at this point, I just want you to focus on this, that you can see how you are making 2 entries. You have got all the money that you've been put into the business in order to run that business, and you can account for what you've done with it. Right, now just to finish this off, ask yourself the question that how much does this owner have invested in the business now? Remember, he started with 10,000, but he has withdrawn 1,000. So another way of looking at this is to say, right, let's take this and minus it from the capital. So this owner would only have 9,000 Rands worth of capital. That would change him plus the loan of 14,000. And on this side, 1,000, 6,000, and 13,000, still 14,000. Now, although the totals have changed from 15 to 14,000, the 2 sides are still equal. So whether we left that as a 1,000 over here, or whether we then subtracted it from capital, we're still getting to the fact that we are in balance. Now you need to practice this concept, and your teacher should help you with working with this, so that you get to understand the actual record keeping and how you are making double entries all the time. Now do some practice before we get on to the next lesson.